afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Sheridan, for having me, and the staff of Serra Catholic for having me here today to talk to all of you. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. Once again, my name is Rogowicz, and I'm actually a middle school teacher myself. I just had my first baby back in June, so I'm on maternity leave right now. I've lived in Pittsburgh my whole life. Not only am I a teacher, a mom, a wife, but I'm also a cancer survivor. I've battled melanoma twice in my short 29 years. So I'm going to give you some background information on what melanoma is, share my personal experience, and help educate you on possibly preventing melanoma. So first I want to begin with the events that led up to me being diagnosed with melanoma. In high school, I would use tanning beds for special occasions like prom or homecoming, so just maybe a few times a year. And in college, I decided that I really liked how I looked tan, so I started going on a regular basis, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, but I wouldn't say that I was obsessed with tanning. When I would go tanning, my parents would always say how dangerous it was and to stop going. But I was a teenager, you couldn't tell me that anything was dangerous because nothing bad would happen to me. I was far too young to get cancer. I was under the impression that skin cancer was just a simple mole removal. So I was under the impression that even if I got skin cancer, I'd maybe have a small little scar and maybe a few stitches. And I always figured, I would stop going tanning when I was maybe in my 30s, whenever I was all grown up and didn't have any time to go tanning. Well, in October 2007, I had a mole on my knee that I wanted to get removed that just kind of bothered me the way it looked. And then I happened to notice one on my back. So I had them both removed, and I must admit that until Halloween Day 2007, I continued to go tanning. They were just mole removals. Halloween Day of 2007 was the day that changed my life forever. It was 3 days away from my 25th birthday, and I got the call that the mole on my back was melanoma. My doctor told me that he was referring me to an oncologist, and I was so confused because to me, an oncologist is a cancer doctor. I had a mole removed, so why did I need a cancer doctor? I felt fine, and I had no symptoms of having cancer. I just thought skin cancer was this pretend cancer that would be cured by a mole removal. Unfortunately, after doing some research, I learned that it was so much more than that. So what exactly is melanoma? I tried to pick out some facts for you guys, nothing to bore you, nothing too medical, but just some statistics that you should really know. There are 3 different types of skin, there are 3 different common forms of skin cancer. There's basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell, and melanoma. And melanoma is the most deadly form of skin cancer. It's also the most common cancer for people who are 25 to 29 years old, and the second most common cancer in 15 to 29-year-olds. It most often appears as a mole on your body, something that might have an irregular shape or possibly multicolored. It could be a flat mole or it could be raised. The two melanomas that I actually had, neither one of them were raised moles, and they were actually very small moles. There are actually more new cases of skin cancer each year than breast cancer, prostate, lung, and colon cancer combined. So it is much more common than what you think. If it's caught in the early stages, the survival rate is 99%, but if it has already spread, your chances of survival are at 15%. And the majority of mutations found in melanoma are caused by ultraviolet radiation, which comes from tanning bed use. So when I had surgery to remove the cancer, I had a larger area removed around my mole, leaving me with a drain tube in my back. I needed it over a week off work. And cancer, when it actually spreads through your body, it spreads through what's called lymph nodes. So they had to remove a couple of lymph nodes to see if the lymph node showed signs of cancer. If my lymph node showed signs of cancer, then I would need chemo or radiation. Luckily, the cancer was not found in the lymph nodes, so that means that it was caught before it had spread. I was extremely scared. In the weeks following my surgery and leading up to my surgery, I had no idea. I had no idea if I was going to die. I had no idea what was happening. And I just sat around and thought about how much I pushed my luck, how I went tanning. I never thought anything bad would happen to me, especially at such a young age. And all of a sudden, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't just call my parents up to bail me out of this situation. If I had $1 million, I couldn't just give someone $1 million to cure me of cancer. I had no idea what was going to happen with me. And there's actually going to be a slide that shows you on my back. This is a picture of the scar that I have. This actually runs down my back. It's about 6 inches long, and that's where I had a very small mole removed. So that's what I'm left with now 5 years later. Since my first diagnosis with melanoma, I never used a tanning bed, and I never had another sunburn after that. 4 years later, last summer in 2011, I noticed a dark mole on the back of my leg. So I decided to take a picture of it before it was removed. This is what it looked like. If you had an eraser, if you placed the tip of the eraser over the mole, it would be completely covered. It was nothing large or really that abnormal looking. So I went for my normal checkup, and the doctor decided to remove it. And I got the news on July 26, 2011 that I had melanoma yet again. I was very careful in the 4 years that I had melanoma. I never used a tanning bed again. I never had another sunburn. I stayed out of the sun as much as I possibly could, and I was still paying the price for going tanning and having multiple sunburns. Like I said, I don't have wrinkles. A lot of times people mistake me for being in high school. I wasn't obsessed with tanning, but yet my skin is so severely damaged just in the short time that I did go tanning. So it was time to put on a brave face and battle this all again. You can ask my husband, since I was diagnosed, I cried every single day. It is so hard to accept the fact that you can't do anything, that something can possibly take your life and there's nothing you can do. My surgery was extremely, extremely painful. I had to have a deeper area cut out of my leg, and I also had some lymph nodes removed from my groin area. Once again, the surgery came back, or the results came back from the surgery that my cancer was caught before it had spread. But if it wasn't for my normal checkups, the cancer would have spread, and I might not be standing here today. So I'm going to show you some different scars. On the left, that's me, and those are the scars that I have on my leg. So there's 3 different times. When I first had the surgery, you can see where the stitches were, and then after the stitches were removed. Also, Mandy Blishtek is going to be speaking. She has some precancerous cells removed, and you can see her scar on her foot. She graduated with Nikon as well. So I know how extremely blessed I am to be here today to talk to all of you. There have been so many people, young, old, male, female, pale, dark complected, that have passed away from this disease. And one of the most well-known is actually Bob Marley, that people don't realize. He is a perfect example that melanoma does not discriminate. You don't have to have red hair and freckles to be susceptible to melanoma. You can be any skin color, any hair color, it doesn't matter. It does not discriminate. Alright, go on to the next slide. Just to honor a few people. These are a few other pictures. These are all families who I've personally spoken to. Lina Cole, she was 26 years old when she passed away from melanoma, and Carrie McCarthy, 35 years old, who passed away from melanoma. And both of their families are grieving very badly right now. And actually both of them are tanners. And on the next slide, we have our very own Ned Kahn. He was 21 when he passed away. And Aaron Kellogg, he was from Slippery Rock, and he was 23 years old when he passed away. I'm going to go ahead and read you an excerpt from a book that Jennifer Schwein of Erie, PA started to write. I would like to begin by saying that I'm writing this book in hopes that I can help the lives of the young who think they are invincible. They won't get skin cancer. I don't fit the profile. I don't have light eyes or light skin. No one in my family has ever been diagnosed with melanoma. I'm 27 years old, and January 7th is the day that I was told that I have stage 4 metastatic melanoma. As I'm writing this, tears start to fall down my face to think about everything I've gone through already. I hate to go through this horrible nightmare all over again, but I feel that I need to tell my story in hopes of changing people's minds and to inform them how deadly this cancer is. I never in a million years would have guessed this would be happening to me at such a young age. If only I could turn back the time. At the age of 17, I started to go to tanning beds at first, just before prom, relaxing and yes, addictive. I continued to use them up until the time I was diagnosed, never knowing the full danger. And as you can see, Jennifer lost her battle with melanoma in December 2011, just 11 months after her diagnosis. I know that this is all very depressing. Well, I'm hoping this is very depressing. I'm hoping that you guys are actually listening to me because what I'm saying is not a lie. I am a cancer survivor, and I'm here today by pure luck that my melanoma was caught early. It's realistic. This is nothing that you ever want to experience. Just because you're young, you're not invincible or unstoppable. It's never too late to take your health seriously. And if it's caught in the early stages, the survival rate is extremely high. Once it's spread to other organs, the chances of survival decrease drastically. And the pictures I showed you, that is only a small portion of those who have lost their battle with melanoma. I'm so very lucky to be standing here today as a cancer survivor. When you're diagnosed with cancer, you're left with not only physical scars, but emotional scars as well. I now have to be very careful in the sun. I'm at extremely high risk of the melanoma coming back. After all, it was 4 years in between the first and second diagnosis. I never had another single sunburn, and yet it still came back again. So my skin is so damaged that I'm almost trying to mentally prepare myself that it very well could come back again, and there's nothing I can do but hope that it's caught early. I have to wear sunscreen every single day, fall, winter, spring, summer, it doesn't matter, every single day. I live in constant fear of it returning, and the thought of being a cancer survivor runs through my head multiple times a day. I just have to hope that in the future, if it does return, that it's caught in the early stages. Last year in June 2011, I decided to start my own chapter of Miles Against Melanoma. It's a nonprofit organization here in Pittsburgh, and I decided that I wanted to donate the money to the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute. They're the ones who fund the Hillman Cancer Center here. At the 5K, we had over 664 walkers and runners. Our largest team was in honor of Nick Pond. I'm sorry. Go back one. This is actually part of Nick Pond's team. They had almost 100 walkers and runners on their team to come out and support Nick. And the next slide. This is actually the doctor who removed my cancer, and I was actually pregnant at the time. Next slide. There's just a few slides of the runners and walkers in the race. And this is another family honoring someone who passed away from melanoma. And we actually ended up raising $25,000 that was donated to the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute. It was just an overwhelming amount of support. So I plan to continue with the 5K race and walk next year to spread even more awareness for fundraising and research. I'm sorry, Mr. Shea, could you go back a couple? I left out one part with the survivors. I just want to show you guys back one more. These are just a few people who have also survived melanoma. We have Jeff, Belvac, Ryan, Hennessy. These are all people who I've actually had personal contact with. Chelsea Price, she's 25 years old, and you can see a picture of her back. That's where she had cancer removed. And on the next one, these are two more survivors, Melissa Collins and Shelby Sims, and those are their scars that they have left from melanoma. So my tan has faded away. I'm now left with all these scars from battling cancer twice. I'm trying to do my best to spread awareness, to educate others, so that they don't have to go through what I and so many people have gone through. I guess it's my way of turning lemons into lemonade. Please take my advice. Do not use tanning beds. If you currently use tanning beds, it's honestly never too late to stop. It does not matter. Once you're diagnosed with cancer, it doesn't matter how good you look for prom, it doesn't matter how great we looked in the summer, the tan is not worth it. Use sunscreen. I'm not saying to stay out of the sun, that's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to say not to be in the sun, but there's proper ways to protect yourself while you are in the sun. And also have your skin checked on a daily basis. If you don't have insurance to have your skin checked, there are places. Hillman Cancer Center does free skin checks once a month. There is really no excuse at all not to have your skin checked. something that concerns you at all, you should go and have it checked out because it could possibly save your life. Please don't wait to be diagnosed with cancer like I was.